So the second aspect is, right now we've seen what is systematic review and its importance, and comparison between different types of reviews. Now let us see how it is done. Stepwise, I will try and explain it to you. So this is step one. We have a clear and focused question, and this question may require preliminary searching to see what evidence is already available. Step 2, we develop a protocol, and the protocol is the plan or the recipe for the review. The search strategy, the databases, eligibility criteria, screening process, critical appraisal process, data analysis and synthesis process. So all this is our plan. Then we register our protocol with Prospero or publish it in a relevant journal. The third step is to conduct that systematic searches that we have planned. Screen the search results for relevant studies that meet the eligibility criteria. Then we critically appraise the quality of included studies. Then we extract the relevant data from the included studies. We synthesize the data, make meaning out of it, and summarize and interpret the evidence to answer our research question. So this is all in all the whole process of systematic review. So we have seen the steps. Now let us understand what is PRISMA. PRISMA is an acronym for Preferred Reporting Items for Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis. It is an evidence-based minimum set of items for reporting in systematic reviews and meta-analysis. It focuses on reporting of reviews evaluating randomized trials, but can also be used as a basis for reporting systematic reviews of other types of research, particularly evaluations of interventions. Several PRISMA extensions have been published in 2015 so far. PRISMA P for developing review protocols was published in January 2015, and PRISMA IPD individual patient data was published in JAMA, and PRISMA NMA was published in Annals of Internal Medicine in June. So these are different types of PRISMA extensions. But PRISMA, basic PRISMA checklist is extremely important when you are doing systematic review. And here you can see that checklist, which includes various sections or topics, including title, abstract, introduction, methods, and results, and discussion and finding. So we have checklist item, and we have to report the finding on the basis of that particular checklist item, and this is how we evaluate the particular study or article. There are other guidelines also, which are CONSORT, that is Consolidated Standards of Reporting Trials. It is a transparent and consistent procedure for reporting trials. There is MOOS guidelines for meta-analysis and systematic reviews of observational studies, and STROPE statement, that is strengthening the reporting of observational studies in epidemiology. Modified ARRIVE, that is for animal research, and modified CONSORT for in vitro studies. These are the guidelines on the basis of which we have to conduct our systematic review of different types of studies. Now let us come to the step 1 of formulating a research question. It is important that we have a clear, well-formed focus question. The benefits of having such question include that it makes searching for evidence easier. We can easily apply the key concepts in our question for your search, and when we start very clearly, our objectives are clear in our mind, we are likely to find what we are searching for. So that is about formulating a research question. Now to help us in having a clear question, we have a PICO format, which is for developing a research question. So P stands for population, I or E stands for intervention and exposure, C stands for comparison, and O stands for outcome. So let us take an example of this research question. Is paleo diet more effective than a Mediterranean diet for weight reduction in obese adults? So for this we can define P here, that obese adults are the population, intervention and exposure are paleo diet compared with Mediterranean diet, and outcome is weight reduction. So if we have all these P, I, C, O categories filled up, then we are having a very clear focused research question. Now comes the protocol. The protocol is the plan or methodology of our systematic review. You need to develop your protocol at the beginning before you start your searches. You may refine your protocol as you progress through your review, depending on what we get in the search or as a search result, but definitely the plan has to be comprehensive. And to help us in that, we need to identify what to include in our protocol. So what to include involves questions or aim of the review, use of PICO breakdown that we just talked about, eligibility criteria, which studies are to be included, which are to be excluded, where we will search and how we will search, how we will screen our records, how we will extract the relevant data, how we will assess for bias, how we will analyze the data. All this has to be very, very clearly mentioned. Now let us talk about eligibility criteria because this is very important. One of the features that distinguish a systematic review from a narrative review is the pre-specification of criteria. And that eligibility criteria should match the PICO elements and should be agreed upon by all screeners before screening starts. So this can be, for example, demographic factors, age, sex, ethnicity, study design and duration, what types of studies you need to involve to answer your question, what measures are we looking for, if we are looking for a particular measure, what is the date range, this and this year we are searching for. So all these areas need to be mentioned as eligibility criteria, and if we are clear with this, then we are likely to get very specific results. Now comes where to search. So how to search and other relevant things. So now we'll talk something about mesh. We'll talk about search engines and let us begin. Let me give you some tips to facilitate the searching. It is best practice to search using both subject headings and keyword searches. I'll always search one database at a time. Start your search in Medline so you can use the mesh when mapping out your search. Always search one concept at a time. If you use a subject heading, make sure you also run it as a keyword search. Backup subject headings with keyword searches. You should not need to search your outcome as this is often implied in your results. So these are some common tips which will facilitate your searching. What is MESH? MESH is a medical subject heading, the acronym of MESH. It is a controlled vocabulary thesaurus of terms created by the National Library of Medicine and used for Medline PubMed article records. They give uniformity and consistency to the indexing and cataloging of the biomedical literature, and they are updated yearly and selected based on their importance to clinical care and research. So medical subject heading is a very important term to understand when we are doing the systematic reviews. Now let us talk about how to map our search depending on a PICO criteria. So let us see if we have a population of adults with chronic pain. Now alternative keywords we have to talk about here, that is severe pain, chronic inflammation, and for that the subject headings may be chronic pain, acute pain. Then intervention, cannabis, then alternate keywords for cannabis is hemp, marijuana, and subject headings cannabis, medical, marijuana. Comparison group we have non-steroidal anti-inflammatories for which we have three alternative keywords, that is NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, and for subject headings we have anti-inflammatory agents and non-steroids. So as you see on the left side there is a population intervention comparison, and for them these we have concepts like what in our search in our research question we have these components, and for them we have alternative keywords and subject headings. So talking about alternative keywords, these are very important because many investigators use different names for one particular situation or condition or drug or uh, stuff like that. So let us see an example here. Different terminologies like physiotherapy or physical therapy, different spellings like labor or labor, singular and plural word forms, that is child or children, foot, feet, sports, sports. Other word forms like diabetic or diabetes, obese or obesity. Now, as you can notice here, we are trying to include all the studies that are there in this database. But for that, we need to be very, very specific that we have good search strategy. So here, that is why we are dealing in detail with the alternative keywords. Now, for example, generic versus specific, that is acetyl salicylic acid, aspirin or asproclear. Common acronyms, cognitive behavior therapy or CBT, words spelled with or without a dash, non-surgical, non-dash surgical. So we should make sure nothing is excluded just because we have a poor search strategy or we did not put that keyword. That is why some studies are excluded. This should not happen, and this is why we should know about all these things. Now, to make the searching easier, we have certain strategies. One of them is truncation. And truncation, most databases allow us to find word variations by using a feature called truncation. We use a symbol, often an asterisk, to substitute for characters, often a word stem. Now, it is highly recommended that you use the truncation to include all variations of a word in your search. Diabet finds diabetic, diabetes, exercise, exercise, asterisk finds exercise, exercises, exercising. So nothing is skipped by accident. Now different word spellings. We have wildcards to allow you to find different word spellings. For example, the wildcard symbol can vary in different databases. So always check the help screens. Tumor, we give a question mark between M and O and R, finds tumor or tumor. Behavior, again, if we don't have to worry about the spelling if we use the wildcards. Then phrase searching, this is another feature. It forces words together in one direction. So most databases require you to put phrases in double quotes. For example, carpal tunnel syndrome in inverted commas. Most databases require you to put your phrases in double quotes. The one exception is Ovid database. For example, Medline, Embase, PsycInfo, all they use this phrase search. Now, mining for keywords, if some of the following tools can be very important, like PubMed, Reminer. When you submit your query, which can be any query that can be processed by PubMed, this PubReminer will process the result of that query and display its results in the form of selectable keywords in frequency table, which can be added or excluded from the query to optimize the result. So to find out the keywords, we can use this particular tool. Now, very, very important aspect is connectors, how we connect the various search keywords. So understanding them is critical. Now, and if we use, it will narrow the search, as you can see here, Boolean operator and. If we use the Boolean operator or, it will include or broaden our search. And if we include not, it will remove the terms. So we should not use not because it may remove inadvertently relevant studies. So and or are commonly used Boolean connectors. Now here, very important slide, how to convert the search terms into search strategy. So you have population, that is chronic pain or acute pain or chronic inflammation. These are all the synonyms or the alternate keywords. Then you have intervention and comparison. You join the alternative keywords with or and join the PICO with and. So vertically you have to add and horizontally or, and that will give you your complete search strategy. Now talking about the databases, there are certain primary databases like Embase, Medline, Scopus, Web of Science, and so on. And there are secondary databases like Cochrane Library and Pedro and Joanna Institute, etc. So let us talk something about Medline. NLM, the world's largest medical library, produces Medline. And this Medline is a bibliographic database with over 24 million citations. Now, PubMed is NLM search engine interface for Medline. So this PubMed is free, and there are vendors. Some vendors lease Medline from NLM, so it can be searched through their own interfaces. And these are Embase, ProQuest, Ovid, Web of Science, and so on, EBSCO. So these are the vendors that lease the Medline from NLM. So we have PubMed on one side and the others on the other side. So United States National Library of Medicine at the National Institutes of Health maintains the database as a part of ENTRIS system of information retrieval. It is situated in the Bethesda in United States. So this is about NLM. Very frequently we encounter this word, so I thought of explaining it to you. Now some concepts we need to understand clearly. Both PubMed and PubMed Central index millions of biomedical articles. They are provided by National Library of Medicine and the National Institute of Health. PubMed Central contains all full text articles and documents. It is a subset of PubMed. Medline Plus is for patients, families, and other consumers. So, as we talked in the beginning about the stakeholders, so stake for the families and patients and other consumers, there is Medline Plus. Now, PubMed Central is a part of PubMed, and Medline is also a part of PubMed, and Medline Plus is also. So, you can see the interrelationship in this particular diagram. Now, National Center for Biotechnology Information, NCBI, we often see it on our searches. So, this houses a series of databases relevant to biotechnology and biomedicine and is an important resource for bioinformatic tools and services. Major databases include GenBank for DNA sequences and PubMed, a bibliographic database for the biomedical literature. The other databases include the NCBI Epigenomics database. Now this was about searching for the literature, but there is something called as grey literature, which is not published, and not published in the sense not formally published in resources and so sources such as books or journal articles. This can include information such as government reports, conference proceedings, graduate dissertations, unpublished clinical trials, and much more. So when we are talking about systematic review, we should also search grey literature because see why the search in the gray literature, why we should search if it is not been peer reviewed. So the difference, basically the difference is that the published data is peer reviewed and the non-published or gray literature is not peer reviewed. But even if it is not peer reviewed, why we should search it? The answer is that there is a strong bias in scientific publishing towards publishing studies that show some sort of significant effect. Meanwhile, many studies and trials that show no effect end up going unpublished. But knowing that an intervention had no effect is just as important as knowing that it did have an effect when it comes to making decisions for practice and policy making. And therefore, this grey literature can be critical for our evidence generation. So, how to search this grey literature? Identify and record the sources you will search. Include some indications of search terms used if appropriate. Try searching databases that specialize in grey literature like OpenGray. Conference proceedings. Identify professional organizations that have conferences at which the researchers might be presenting their work related to your topic. Search those conference proceedings on the organization's website, and this is about the conference proceedings. For thesis and dissertations, we can have number of databases dedicated to that, and we can search in that. Identify government agencies and international and non-governmental organizations that might publish the technical papers and reports on your topic, and search their websites and online libraries that may provide the data. And contact known researchers. If you know them personally, or if you happen to know that they have published in this field, contact them to determine if there are any ongoing or unpublished studies that they might be aware of. So this is how we search the grey literature. One thing we should never forget is that a systematic search is an iterative process. It never stops. There are several iterations, and we need to constantly evolve, evaluate, validate, verify, and revise and rerun our searches if it is required. The search strategy should be comprehensive, it should be transparent, replicable, validated, and unbiased. And to make sure that the strategy is correct, we have to do several iterations before we land up with the final results. Elements for peer review of electronic search strategies. So review the search and make the changes as required. And ask yourself, have you translated your questions into search terms? Have you identified all databases? Have you checked for spelling mistakes, syntax errors? Have you been comprehensive with your search terms? Have you looked for subject headings for your main concepts? Have you run any subject headings used as keywords also? Have you checked your search combinations and or Boolean operators? Have you added any new terms discovering while searching all databases? So these are the questions you should ask yourself and reflect upon and improve on the search strategy. Now comes reporting of the search. So this is a typical Prisma diagram flow chart which shows that at the time of beginning how many records were identified, and through database searching and through other sources how many duplicates are removed, how many were removed after screening, how many match the eligibility criteria, and how many did not match, and then how many were finally included. So this is the way we have to report the result of the search. Now we have to record title of the database is searched, name of the database platform, that is Medline for example, database date range, date search conducted, years covered by the search, and complete search strategy including all search terms and limits.